The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of Well-Being with CJ Horrell. These perspectives are respectfully held and are shared for information and reflective purposes only. They're not intended as a substitute for professional care, nor should they be used in place of advice from your clinician, therapist, or health provider who understands the specific details of your personal situation. As for my own contributions, what I share reflects the most truthful viewpoint I can offer at the time of this recording. As the Holy Spirit continues to reveal deeper understanding, I reserve the freedom to revise, expand, or even contradict previous perspectives because growth is part of the journey.
Welcome to Well-Being with CJ Horrell. Candid conversations about life, health, and faith that encourage us to pursue our best selves. Here's CJ.
Welcome back to Well-Being with CJ Horrell. Today's episode marks the final chapter in our special series, The Road Back, a journey through betrayal, grace, and reconciliation. If you've been with us through each part of this series, thank you. Your openness to listen, reflect, and grow has been a quiet but powerful part of this healing road. And if today's your first time joining, you're still right on time. This conversation was designed to speak to the heart wherever you happen to be on your journey. Over the past couple episodes, we've peeled back the layers of hurt, hope, and honest reckoning. Today, we close this series, but not the conversation. This final episode is about integration. What do we carry forward? What do we leave behind? What does wholeness look like when you've been broken and dared to believe that healing is possible? So let's walk this last stretch together, heart open, soul grounded, and eyes fixed on what's ahead. And now, the conclusion of the road back. If someone listening is afraid to reach out to someone they've hurt or who has been hurt, they're unsure whether to forgive, what would you say to them?
Okay, so let me answer the first part of that question. If someone listening is afraid to reach out to someone they've hurt, I think a good thing to consider is what's the fear? Because I get it that the person might not want to feel attacked. That person might also be in a vulnerable state. But I would say still reach out. I would say be very careful about your wording, how you say what you say. Mm-hmm. Have zero expectations because honestly, forgiveness is not necessarily about the other person. Forgiveness really is about you. It's about you, the person that's requesting the forgiveness, to lay down the weight of whatever the situation or the accusation or the experience is that's pressing you down and sucking the life out of you. Mm-hmm. And it's about giving you an opportunity to move forward, to attempt to make things right and move forward. But I will say, even when you reach out, and I mentioned have zero expectations, remember that forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. Mm-hmm. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because I think people ask for forgiveness expecting that the other person is supposed to, one, forgive them, so accept the apology, and two, drop everything like nothing ever happened and run back into the arms of that friendship. Mm-hmm. That is an effort in futility. Understand that sometimes we wound people so deeply that we may never be able to put that friendship back together. That's just the reality of the human existence. However, that should not stop you from trying to make a wrong right. Mm-hmm. Because you also have to heal from whatever that event was or is. So my recommendation is go ahead, reach out, be sincere, be honest, be fair in your expectations. Know that you saying you are sorry does not necessarily mean that the other person is ready to move forward with that, although they may appreciate the overture. They may not be in a space where they can even sort of think through and process through the event all over again so that now they can come to a place of forgiveness. So there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot that's happening between you requesting forgiveness and the person forgiving you. There's a lot of muddy stuff going on in the middle. And as the person requesting the forgiveness, you have to be respectful of what's happening in that muddy area. So reach out, have zero expectations, be fair in your in that expectation, and also recognize that forgiveness does not mean, does not require, may not necessarily result in reconciliation. And that's okay. And so if you have been hurt and you are unsure whether to forgive, that's okay as well. Because maybe you're not ready. And if there's some more healing to happen, take your time and allow that healing to happen. Don't rush it because the person that's asking you to forgive them is expecting you to just move forward like nothing happened. No. So I want to tell you, if you're listening, give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling so that you can heal as you're healing. Let me say that again. Give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling so that you can heal as you are healing. There is nothing that says that you have to reconcile. There's nothing that says that. And I know that people who are believers, are faith-based, they have this assumption that you are supposed to forgive and forget. Well, I would like to submit that you don't necessarily want to forget because you don't want to make the mistake a second time. What I'd like to submit is it's not about forgetting. It is about, in time, if it is right, forging forward so that when you think of the incident, it does not have the same impact on you that it did before. And I think that that's how I realized with our journey, CJ, that I can talk about what we've been through without feeling the sting of pain. I know that I've healed. I know that I'm continuing to heal. So if you are uncertain whether to forgive, give yourself time to process why. And this really is a larger conversation because I could imagine someone saying, well, if somebody abuses me every time, should I always accept the forgiveness? Again, figure out why you are not ready to forgive. And again, understand you can forgive without reconciliation. You can forgive without mending that friendship. And that is okay. Because if your mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, and physical health is being sacrificed on the altar of what's being posited as a friendship, but rather is a forum of abuse, you do not have to reconcile.
Yeah, reconcile.
There is nothing that says that you ought to be anybody's whipping boy or whipping girl. But what I will say to you is not to harbor anger and venom. That's what I mean when I say forgive. To the point where you're not harboring resentment, because what that does, it damages you rather than the person that has hurt you.
I
It
dedicate.
is a vicious reality.
Yeah, yeah. I dedicated an entire chapter to that in my book. Forgiveness is not doesn't
It's not
necessarily mean reconciliation.
reconciliation.
You know, for,
And sometimes, And you know, one of the things I jokingly, you and I have talked about this, and I have said, sometimes you have to allow God to bless people elsewhere. They do not need to be part of your world and your life simply because they are too toxic for growth to ensue. So sometimes you can say, yes, I forgive you, but I am asking God to bless you elsewhere.
Yeah. And, sometimes we have to, that whole idea of blessing elsewhere. It's, I forgive you and now I give you up to God. I give you
There
up
you
to Him.
go.
You are His child. So now you're His responsibility.
And you will exist in his sphere, but
Yes.
not necessarily in mine. And
Yes.
that's what I mean when I say you be blessed elsewhere.
Yeah, because when we forgive someone, a lot of times when we forgive somebody, it doesn't mean that they have changed. We changed,
Mhm.
but they didn't necessarily change, and so you want to forgive, meaning you want to let go. You want to pardon them from that debt that they can't repay, so that you can release. You can have some release and relief, and that you can move on. And at the same time, you want to recognize, as you're saying, that now does not mean because you've forgiven them, you've given permission for them to continue to, do
Right.
whatever.
Absolutely.
Because some people, they're not ready to walk in that forgiveness. They should,
Mhm.
but they're not ready to. They may need some help. They may need some
Yeah.
special help.
And that's why you release them from the confines of your sphere and your space, because you recognize that they cannot fully function in the capacity that they should or could in your space where you are now experiencing a healthy existence. So sometimes you really do have to allow them to be blessed elsewhere. Um, release them, release them.
And on
It's
that
okay.
on that note of forgive and forget, I like to say, forget to hold it against them. That's what we're
Hmm.
forgetting. We're forgetting to, we're forgetting what it means to hold on to those things. We will not forget what happened. But like you said, you can recall and we can talk about, the past, but you can do so freely, having
Hmm.
forgotten what it's like to hold it in that
Hmm.
painful place.
So that it doesn't fester, right?
Yeah.
And then become cankerous and septic in our psyche. You know what the thing is, when we can actually make ourselves physically ill when we hold anger against someone.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's not just rewiring our brains, our neural pathways, but it's releasing harmful, you know, toxic chemicals
chemicals in the
in the
body. Hmm.
body.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're
Hmm.
we're we're creating harm. There's such an intimate relationship, and that's one of the biggest things I've learned. There's such an intimate relationship between our physical self and our emotional self.
Right.
You know, and even our spiritual self.
Hmm.
So let me ask you, and I think
Okay.
you've touched on it a bit. What
Okay.
role did faith and grace and inner strength play during your journey or this journey?
Of us reconnecting,
Yeah,
or just yeah.
yeah, that whole.
I think they was central. You know, I jokingly say I'm the chief of sinners, right? Um, and I know that if I've done wrong, I would really hope that someone loves me enough to forgive me. So I believe that my faith that this friendship was back on track
Mhm.
started early in our reconciliation as we continued to talk. I felt that I needed just as much grace from you as you felt that you needed from me as well. Um, I know sometimes when I would talk about what happened, and I could feel myself getting angry, and you allowed me that space. I don't know that I deserved it, but to me, that was grace on your part saying, look, I'm setting aside me for the moment, and I'm letting you, and I don't have to, but I'm allowing you to take center stage. Just give me everything that you got. Tell me. And so I liken that also to how sometimes when I'm angry and I go to our Father in heaven, I have no reason to demand anything of him because I'm probably his greatest problem child. But he allows that. So again, that grace, I kept, as we journeyed, I kept thinking, how would I react if the tables were turned? If I were coming to you for forgiveness, how would I hope against hope that you would respond? And for me, that meant taking a step back from what happened and allowing you to share your authentic and vulnerable heart. And then having faith that you were being honest. There's that word again, that you were being honest with me, that your heart was informing your mind, which then informed your mouth when you said, I'm sorry. In terms of inner strength, I will say, I don't know if I would say inner strength per se, but I think it was, I'm at a loss for words here because I'm trying to replace the concept of inner strength. But I will say this, it took a bit of resilience to talk through the events that occurred, because every time we talked about it, it was as though I was reliving it time after time after time. So I think in a sense, it required some resilience, but that resilience came because I knew that it was necessary for healing to begin. So I think that faith and grace and resilience, maybe that's what you're calling the inner strength, because we had several conversations over the course of days and months. So to relive this, and then sometimes you and I would be talking, and out of the blue, I would say to you, I had a memory, I've got a question, and it's a memory that's painful, but you allowed me to open that door, you know? So I think it undergirded everything about this journey for me. I don't think I could have done it or gone through it and come out on the other side of it had it not been for faith and grace. And as you say, inner strength. I don't think I could have done that.
I want to turn my final question in this segment into a statement, and then I'm going to fire off. We're going to come back and I'll fire off my well-being questions
All
on
right.
the Well-Being Podcast. So I'll end with this. Healing can be messy.
Indeed.
It could be slow. It has to be honest.
It does.
It has to be honest. But it's okay if it's messy. It's okay if it's slow, especially if it's honest. If it's honest, it's okay if it's messy. It's okay if it's slow. Do you have something else to add?
It has to be protected at all cost. It has to be given space so that it can be given life. And a safe space at that.
Ugh.
And yeah.
No. You're saying that, and it also reminds me that, and I think this is another thing that I could have touched on in one of the questions you asked me earlier, in terms of my growth. It also requires us to. It required me to see the difference between fear and anxiety,
Ah,
because anxiety is it masquerades as fear, but it's not. It's this you know you become so guarded of what you perceive as a danger, what you perceive as a threat, but it's only a perceived threat. So it's
Right.
anxiety. It's a spirit of fear. And I say, the Bible says God has not given us a spirit of
Spirit of
fear.
fear.
So a spirit of fear masquerades as fear. It's really
Right.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Fear is our response to actual danger.
Right.
you know and so we have to learn in these healing journeys to stand against our anxieties, and know that if we find ourselves to see the difference between the anxiety and an actual present danger, so that
Mm-hmm.
we're not reacting to things, we're responding.
Right.
you know we'll be back with my well-being questions after this.
You are listening to Well-Being with CJ Harrell.
Do you have an opinion, experience, or reflection you'd like to share? Your say is your space to speak your truth. Send us a pre-recorded voice note for a chance to be featured on the podcast. Whether it's a personal story, a lesson you learned, an insight that needs to be heard, or your thoughts on the show itself, this is your opportunity to be part of the conversation. How to participate? Click on the Your Say tab at the top of the website. Record your voice note. Keep it concise and clear. Enter your details to complete your submission and tune in to the podcast. Your voice might be featured on an upcoming episode. Because your voice matters, this is Your Say. Thank you so much, Dee, for being my guest.
You're welcome.
You're going to come back. You have to be one of those regular guests on the Wellbeing Podcast. And I didn't say this I
Absolutely.
did say this at the top of the podcast, so I'll say this now. Like me, you are also a certified coach.
I am.
Yes.
I am a certified mental health coach and health and wellness coach.
And you've coached me a bit too.
Yes, I have.
Yes, just in voicemail, right? Just send me the invoice. So these are my well-being questions. What makes you happy, Dee? You take too long. I don't believe you.
Oh, my
Sorry.
word.
Sorry.
Oh, my word.
Sorry.
You know what makes me happy? There's several things that make me happy. An immaculately clean house. I'm at my happiest when my house is immaculately clean.
Let's pause there. Let's pause there for a moment of silence, because these people. Mercy. Listen, people.
Oh, you asked the question.
When this woman is cleaning, people, even from back in the day, I remember my mom used to embarrass us, man, because she comes into her home. Okay, Dionne is spending the weekend at our house. All right, sometimes the week. Okay. We were all family. Well, we are family. As I say, we're family, right? My mom
Right.
walks into the house, looks at my sister and I, and says, "Dionne, clean this place, because all I could not clean this like this." I mean, that used to hurt, man. That used to. So you say a clean house makes you happy? Clearly, it does.
An immaculately clean house.
Immaculately clean.
Okay, because there's clean and then there's de-clean. Okay, de-clean, which translates into immaculately clean.
Okay.
I enjoy growing things. I enjoy art. I enjoy singing, of course. That's, so I'm listing these not necessarily in the order of what makes me happy. I love reading a good book. Curling up in my bed with my socks on, with a blanket over my feet, with a hot cup of tea, with a good book and soft music in the background.
What are you most grateful for in this moment?
Another 24 hours to get it right.
Okay, let that marinate.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
24 hours to get. So we get another chance, do we?
We get another chance.
By his grace and for his glory.
Another 24 hours to receive the anointing and get it right. Yeah.
What is your philosophy for life?
Well, one of my philosophies comes from something that I heard a former boss of mine say, and I carried it with me. Well, so I'm going to say two things. One, from the boss, he said, when you see a red flag, do not try to change the color.
That's good.
That's good.
That's good.
And another from someone that has been a great mentor to me, Dr. Vernon Andrews. So if he happens to hear this podcast, shout out and kudos to him. He said something to me years ago that I didn't understand until, of course, I guess I matured. And he said to me, happiness is a choice. And I have carried that as my philosophy in life. I can't expect anyone to make me happy or help me be happy. Let me unpack that just a little more as we move quickly. You know, sometimes we're in relationships, right? And we say, oh, he completes me or she completes me. That's rubbish. We are complete people. And what we should recognize is that we have two complete people that come into a relationship.
So we
We
should.
are not, we should never say we are half of a person. That is not how we were created. Now, certainly there may be things that's missing from our lives. I get that. But to say someone completes us to suggests that we are half of a person. That's not what we are. And I think that that's what creates a lot of issues within even friendships. All right. So, so expecting people to make us happy and make us fulfilled, I think that's not an equitable and approach to how we live our lives, but recognizing that certain things like happiness and anger and sadness, those things are choices. Something may irritate you, but you can choose to be angry about it. You can choose to be happy. And I know that some listeners are probably going to be like, absolutely not, that's not true. But give just in the silence, in the moments of silence, just give it some thought. And perhaps you'll see where we're coming from. And maybe this is something we can discuss in another podcast. But that's my philosophy. Happiness is a choice.
This person complements my completion.
They complement. So we complement each other. We don't complete each other.
How would you define success? Did I ask that already? No.
You did not.
Okay.
I think this is so broad. Let me give one answer, and it is not an all-encompassing answer. But I think I would define success as continuing to journey to being a better version of myself. That's how I define success. It doesn't mean that everything I do will, mushroom into publicity or money or accolades, but it means I get to journey with myself, and each step of the way I'm learning something new with each experience that I have. So because I think what that, for me, it's that dynamic movement through life. I'm not static. So I won $1 million and I stopped. But it's a continued journey of experiencing different things, learning from them, and then being able to give back to whomever and whatever based on what I am able to accomplish and experience. And again, that is not an all-encompassing answer, but for the moment and for the purpose of the podcast and for time, I'll leave that right there.
All right. I just have a few more. What new things are you learning?
What new things am I learning? I am learning to be kinder to myself. I am learning that the same arms that I use to wrap around others are the same arms that I should use to wrap around me
I'll
or
leave,
wrap around myself. Yes.
I'll leave that one there to marinate a bit.
Yes. Hmm.
So, what's the most life altering lesson you've learned recently?
Well, I don't have a life altering lesson that I learned recently. I'm going to say this as quickly as I can because I know that we're moving through with time. Several years ago, I experienced a very heartbreaking situation. And I remember having death ideations. Um, I was never one to be suicidal because I am a coward. Just put that out there. But I did have death ideations because I felt as though what was the point of living and who would care? But I remember having an experience where um, God showed me that He was my creator and no one else deserved my life but Him. And I'm going to explore that more in writing in the future so we can let our listeners know. But that was a life-altering lesson for me. And I remember waking up out of my stupor, so to speak, and recalibrating where I gave God back my life. I said, no one deserves my life but you. The journey thereafter was not easy, but I am really thankful for having gone through it because I think now it has, well, since then, since that journey, it has allowed me to be very empathetic when people are struggling with their own life journeys and seem to be losing hope because I know what it feels like to be at that place where you don't feel, see, or experience hope.
Thank you. What are you most passionate about?
Life. I mean, just life and love and singing some more. Learning new things. I'm very passionate about learning new things. I know during COVID, I taught myself how to do loop yarn, right? And made blankets. So I just love learning new things. And yeah.
What is your biggest priority right now?
Hmm.
Talk to me. Okay, okay, D, thanks.
Of
Thanks.
course, talking to you is my priority. Duh. Duh. But I think my biggest priority right now is to continue living a life that allows me to find favor with my creator. I think that's my biggest priority. So as I serve in the capacity in my job, you know, um, helping people to kind of navigate their own lives and so forth. But whatever I do and whatever I say is kind of making sure it's just praying that I have the creator's seal of approval. That's my priority right now.
What is the one thing you would like people to know? That's my final question.
Okay, if so just to know, not necessarily about me, right? But just something that they need to know.
Yeah, yeah, it could be anything.
What I would like each of you listening to know is that you are necessary.
All right. I was waiting. I was waiting.
That's it.
All right.
I really would like our listeners to think about that. You are necessary. Don't you ever forget that. And don't you let anybody take that away from you. You are necessary.
Thank you, D. Thank you so much for being my guest.
My pleasure. My
on the Wellbeing
pleasure.
Podcast. Like I
Yes,
said, you're going to come back again. There's some things we got to revisit, some themes that we touched on that need to be explored
absolutely.
a bit more. As I wrap up, I have some questions for the listeners. Is there
Hmm.
someone I need to seek forgiveness from or someone I need to forgive? I want
Mercy.
listeners to
Make that
think about
call.
that.
Make that call.
What beliefs or assumptions might I be holding on to that are blocking healing in a relationship? Have I been avoiding a hard conversation that could lead to clarity, healing, or closure? What does reconciliation mean to me, and what might it cost?
Mercy.
And finally, where in my life, have I seen grace at work, even in broken places? Thanks again, Dee. Anything else you
My
want to say?
pleasure. Thank you. I am so humbled and I'm so grateful that you took that leap of faith 3 years ago.
Man,
I truly am.
thanks for answering the email, man, for responding.
My pleasure. What a journey it has been. What a journey it'll continue to be. So thank you, my dear.
Yeah, and I look forward to
I
having you
love you to
back.
pieces. I
Love you
love you
too,
to
Dee. Love
pieces.
you too.
Love
And
you to
I look
pieces.
so forward to having you back on the Wellbeing Podcast, um, where we can dive into some other things.
Looking forward to it.
You're listening to Wellbeing with CJ Harrell.
Well-being with CJ Harrell.
Straight ahead, final thoughts.
Ernest Hemingway tells the story of a father who desperately wanted to reconcile with his son. Regretting what had happened between them, the father put an ad in the local newspaper that read, "Dear Paco, meet me in front of the Madrid newspaper office tomorrow at noon. All is forgiven. I love you." Hemingway writes that the next day at noon, hundreds of Pacos gathered in front of the newspaper office, searching, hoping, seeking forgiveness. The world is full of heartbroken people. People who've been victimized, mistreated, alienated, and neglected. The world is also full of people who are angry, resentful, bitter, lonely, depressed, fearful, guilt-driven, consumed by hatred and self-pity. People who've been wronged by others and people who have wronged others. This life is unfair and full of hurt, and we have only two options: to live bitter or better. Painful experiences create painful memories, and a painful memory is a mental wound that must be healed. Life is too short to be imprisoned by an emotional scrapbook of painful memories. We must forgive. You might need to forgive someone, or you might need to forgive yourself. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to leave you with something that goes beyond the story Dionne and I shared. This journey, this road back, wasn't just about being hurt. It was about facing a part I played in someone else's pain. It took courage, not the loud kind, but the quiet kind. The kind that whispers, "You were wrong. Now make it right." And that meant reaching out, not to justify, not to explain, but to acknowledge, express regret, and apologize. Without any guarantee and without expecting anything in return. Just obedience, just love. There's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation, and understanding that difference can save us from a lot of confusion and heartache. Forgiveness is an internal process. It's personal. It's when you decide to release resentment and anger, even if the other person never says sorry, never admits wrong, and never shows up to make it right. It's your peace. It's your healing. Reconciliation is relational. It requires two willing hearts. It's a rebuilding process built on honesty, time, trust, and truth. And not every relationship will or should make that journey. So here are a few reminders as you reflect. Number one, don't confuse forgiveness with access. You can forgive someone and still maintain your boundaries. Number 2, watch the apologies. Some say sorry because they truly see they're wrong and want to make it right. Others, they're just sorry because they got caught. And some use apologies as manipulation to reset the relationship without doing the work. Learn to discern. Number 3, be honest with yourself. If you've caused harm, take responsibility, not for the sake of your image, but for the sake of integrity. Reach out if led, but do it without entitlement, without expectation. Do it from a place of humility. Number 4, give people time. Just because you're ready to make peace doesn't mean they're ready to receive it. Reconciliation is beautiful, but it's not owed. It's a gift, one that requires both parties to value truth, accountability, and growth. So if you're on the road back, walk it with courage, walk it with humility, and remember, forgiveness frees you. Reconciliation, if it happens, is the fruit of mutual grace. As I close this edition of the podcast and the theme, The Road Back, I'm deeply moved, not just by the pain we had to walk through, but by the grace that brought us back. What you've heard today is a rare gift. 2 people who chose truth over pride, love over silence, and healing over history. But as we know, reconciliation isn't always possible, and in some cases, it isn't even wise. Forgiveness is a personal journey. Reconciliation is a shared one, and it takes humility, safety, and willingness from both parties. This story just happened to have all 3. So wherever you are, wherever you're carrying regret, sitting on the ache of betrayal, or hoping for restoration, remember this: it's never too late to seek healing. Even if the road back doesn't lead to a reunion, it can still lead to peace. If anything I've shared today speaks to you, if you've been carrying pain, waiting for permission to heal, or simply longing for space to be real, consider this your invitation. Grow with me. Heal with me. Don't just listen, lean in. Join the Wellbeing Family, a sacred space where we don't have to pretend we're fine and we don't have to heal alone. Every like, every comment, every share helps this message reach someone who needs it, maybe more than you know. When you engage, you're not just supporting the podcast, you're becoming part of the healing, a change agent, a light bearer, a living invitation. So don't stay on the sidelines. Subscribe, leave a review, share your story, or share this episode with someone who needs it. Let's make well-being more than a conversation. Let's make it a movement. There's space for you here. I'm better with you. Thank you for listening. Stay tender, stay courageous. Until next time.